R&D being taken in underground facilities for several things, basically human livestock, human lab rats, and now, more currently, being used more or less as spare parts for fourth, fifth generation of the super soldier program through Project Talent. Now, so one thing that I can't explain because I really don't know why, but for some reason, people, the natives of the Caribbean, are the far more sought after under Operation Spyglass. Why? I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because it wasn't my job to know. My job was to go, find them, grab them, bring them back. That was it. I didn't ask any questions. But I knew...
Can you add to that?
I'm sorry?
I mean, Deagle, do you understand why they would be taking those specific type of people?
I don't know specifically, but there's people all over the world that disappeared. Probably tens of thousands of people that are not accounted for after roughly 300,000 individuals, children and young adults disappear every year. There's another probably 40,000 that are never accounted for, and they don't find the body or anything else. The reason is they end up in human sacrifice, they end up in underground laboratories, they end up in the human veal market, meaning they're literally given as food and sold as a delicacy. And the other thing is they end up in off-world space platforms and are shipped elsewhere, if you want to call it, without getting into details. And they also end up in in what's called games, if you want to call it. Not only the games that the former Vice President Dick Cheney did on his ranch in Wyoming, the ultimate game, but also, if you want to call it if you want to call it predator games that they play. They're also experimenting using human beings with inserting specific genetics, modifying the genetics, extracting hormones and other things to support
biogenetic testing.
Yep. Biogenetic testing, and also testing horizontally insertion of specific gene complexes to see what it does. See, here's the problem. In order for us to eat food that's safe for us, it has to be grown with what's called holographic genetic engineering. So in other words, when you eat an apple, the genes are stable in the apple, and they don't have unstable plasmids that can jump out and get in your gut bacteria and switch on and off genes that can make the bacteria create toxins, or jump into your cells and get in your bone marrow and switch on cancer or make you grow another limb, right? So what happens is that our current genetically modified foods and so on is very primitive. What they're doing is they're using things like cassettes of genes they insert or horizontally insert in certain chromosome sections. And so they've been playing and experimenting with their technologies to create super soldiers by horizontally inserting individual genes. For example, their template for making a super soldier is on a female, not a male, to insert the what's called the Hercules gene, which is what they call the Hercules gene. It's actually the gene from jackals to create the actin-myosin, which is the super muscles that the actual power per square inch force for mass of muscle is 12 times higher in jackals than any other mammal. And then they want to insert other genes to modify the structure, and they've had a lot of accidents and disasters. So what they do is experiment on different groups by inserting one or more gene complex and trying to see if they can stabilize it so that the organism stays stable and the organ systems don't deteriorate after a period of time, and the organism basically gets very ill and dies.
I had so much more I wanted to go into on this show. We got like 6.5 minutes left, and I really want to leave people with a positive note. And I want to refer to some of David Wilcox's information and the fact that scientists believe that 97% of our DNA is junk DNA, and that may be activated during this aligning of the planets or this energy field that we're coming into. Can you guys give some kind of positive end to all of this?
Well, I'll explain the 97% DNA. Actually, I did the original research, which you didn't publish, and I generated and built, with the government grant, 12 machines that generate what's called a morphogenic field. The 97% of DNA is always active. It's called holographic or phonon maser DNA. It's a crystal. Your DNA is a crystal, and it's a two-way street. In other words, epigenesis, thought, ideas, environment, toxins. That signal comes through the cell membranes that act as liquid crystals and send a signal to imprint new information on the DNA. The DNA is like a memory core. So if you think positive thoughts, if you feed your body positive things, if you interact with the environment positively, if you don't pour in toxins, the right genes get switched on, and that there is a form of, you want to call it microevolution, or advancing and imprinting on the DNA of an individual and their subsequent generations that passed on. So the best way to describe it is our 97% of our DNA is what's called the holographic DNA, the DNA that creates new imprints, new information, new structures, new advancements in the organism that's based on not only their physical environment but their spiritual and their thought environment.
Now, this coincides with the age that we're living in and what Miriam Delicado is saying in the time of choice and the real, according to the Mayan calendar, the age of ethics, and the coming in February 2011, the coming age of co-creation, and how we can really split our timeline and go down a different road or a different plane of existence or vibrational level because we can get in touch with what you're talking about.
Yeah, and of course, what I really try to say is that the spiritual realm, which is where our mind exists. Our mind is not a physical thing like the brain. The brain is a chemical computer. I refer to the body as a bone suit, and the brain and the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, is sensory, if you want to call it, a sensory machine to connect our spirit, which is an astral body, our astral being, our mind, which exists on the higher seven-dimensional planes, that's beyond space-time. Space-time is the realm in which our physical bodies exist, but not where our spiritual bodies exist. And
Aaron, do you have any positive notes to end? We got 4 minutes
I think
left
the most
here.
important thing that people should remember is, number one, that we get to choose our timeline and future, but we have to know, number one, what kind of a being we are, and that we're made in the image of the Creator God, that we are not alone in the universe, that there is an intervention, but it's dependent on a transformation of our hearts. It's dependent on repentance. It's depending on becoming active. It's depending on getting angry but doing no sin. In other words, don't do evil, do good, connect with each other, connect with the world, and realize that there's very great good and very great evil, and we're caught in a galactic and cosmic war, and we will win, but it will require a transformation of our hearts first, and then we will not be consumed by our technology.
Aaron, you want to follow up with that? And I just want to thank you guys both for being on the show. This was extremely awesome, and I wish I had a 2-hour show. Unfortunately, I don't do this for a living, so I love the fact that you guys came on, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And I just want to go out by saying thank you. I'm going to leave it to Aaron, and you got like a minute and a half left, Aaron, and then we're off the show. But thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me. And I'll just say, really great words by Dr. Deagle, what he just said about that. Absolutely, we're going to win. It's just a matter of how soon or when, but I just know it's going to happen. Now, let me just add this real quick. People like me that were in the Super Soldier program, we're given a food, and that food is fear and hate. That fear and hate is what drives us. It's what makes us what we are. And for the longest time, even when I was set away side, I lived off of fear and hate. I have since then turned myself around to where even if someone bumps into me or if I find myself getting mad on the road, all I do is I send love back to them. It may not be, whatever. I give good thoughts. I say, you know what, things happen. The most important thing is that as long as you are willing to forgive, even if you don't want to, even if you just practice by saying, you know what, I'm going to forgive tomorrow, I'm going to send out love, keep doing that. Keep spreading that because it's contagious, everybody. That is contagious. And as long as that happens, it will grow, it will manifest. The collective of consciousness will keep growing, and eventually we will be beyond their control.